now on Hulu. All right, still with me, trial attorney Matthew Barhoma. Matthew, what do you make of those comments? I mean, people get involved in cults all the time. She was involved in Chad and his particular group, and they start thinking crazy things. Doesn't really mean they're crazy. What do you make of his comments?
Yeah, I think he's genuinely telling a story about his sister here, and his own rise for concern when she was going through these things, and so ultimately, very compelling items here, very compelling statements here from someone pretty relatively close to the facts, and ultimately, I think it really shines a light on the level of insanity that may be involved in this case.
That's an interesting point. I want to play another little soundbite from Adam Cox here. He talks about how this whole ordeal has affected the family and the fact that he's actually touched base with Lori recently, and she kind of seems the same. Let's listen.
Adam, one thing that strikes me about this story is there's such a fascination with it around the country, around the world, but this is your family. This is your sister. This is your life.
Our family is nothing the way it used to be. You don't know who to trust, who's saying what actually happened. And so some family members may believe one thing and other family members believe another thing.
Do you know how Lori's doing today?
My mom has talked to her.
Okay.
And it seems that my mom is saying that she's just the same as she's always been. My mom thinks that being in jail has to have any effect on her at all, as far as coming to reality of what actually is happening.
That's interesting, Matthew, because again, you said, it may be signs of insanity. Now, we know competency is an issue, right? She can't be tried yet because she's still considered incompetent. Now, that could change at any time. But I wonder if some of this type of talk, and we've heard it from other folks in the family as well, could become a part of a trial where perhaps insanity is an issue.
Yeah, these statements are very relevant, and when and if this case comes to bar, and I believe it will, ultimately, these kinds of statements are going to be very important, especially if these individuals testify. As to the level of insanity and the competency issues, ultimately, I think that, jail maybe is not going to move, or incarceration is not going to move one way or another on her level of insanity. I think that this is someone who's experiencing deep kinds of insanity from before, and I believe that there's a lot underpinning, leading up to ultimately what happened. And so all of that is all going to be an intersection at any and all future proceedings in her case.
Yeah, no question. And many of us think that she's ultimately going to point the finger at Chad Daybell. And I think that this, even if it doesn't rise to the level of insanity, would certainly help that cause, right? Saying that he had me under his spell, thinking all this craziness. He was the one that's responsible for all this.
Absolutely. There's multiple different kinds of insanity. And ultimately, how she addresses her case and how she plays this one out is going to be very, very, very pivotal into, how she puts on a defense for this kind of thing. And I think you're right. I agree with you, Michael. I think she's going to be pointing the finger here as much as she possibly can.
Yeah, exactly. Now, when that trial happens, we don't know. She's still incompetent. And again, that could change at any time. But as of right now, she's not deemed fit to stand trial. All right, Matthew, stand by. We're coming up now with a break.